Before we dive into one of the most bizarre and chilling mysteries to ever hit Hollywood, make sure to subscribe if you love deep dives into unsolved cases, hidden truths, and shocking celebrity mysteries. Trust me, this one is going to leave you speechless. By all accounts, he was living his best life, healthy, active, and still enjoying his favorite pastimes like woodworking, writing, and cycling. So, what went wrong? The first alarm bells rang when no one had heard from Jean or Betsy for several days. Friends, neighbors, even distant relatives noted their silence. Then, their housekeeper arrived for her usual visit and made the gruesome discovery. Both Jean and Betsy were dead. Their bodies lay in separate rooms, with Betsy showing far more advanced signs of decomposition. This one fact alone flipped the investigation on its head. If they had both passed away from the same cause, wouldn't their bodies be in a similar state? When Leslie Hackman finally broke her silence, many expected a clear answer, a definitive cause of death, something to quiet the swirling theories. But instead, her statement only raised more questions. She confirmed that her father had been in great health. He wasn't suffering from any serious illness, and there was no reason to believe his death was imminent. Leslie also mentioned carbon monoxide poisoning as a possible cause. This theory had already been floated due to the eerie similarities to other cases where undetectable gas leaks have caused sudden, unexplained deaths. But here's where it gets even stranger. Authorities tested for carbon monoxide, natural gas leaks, and other environmental hazards. The results? Nothing. No leaks, no toxins, no signs of a freak accident. So if it wasn't gas poisoning, what happened in that house? Investigators went back over the timeline. One of the most chilling discoveries was that Jean's pacemaker recorded its last beat on February 17th. That means he died at least 9 days before his body was found. But Betsy's condition suggests she may have died even earlier. Think about that. If Betsy passed away first, that means Jean spent days alone in their home. Why didn't he call for help? Did he simply refuse to leave her side? Or was he somehow prevented from doing so? And if he died first, what happened to Betsy? The lack of answers has fueled some chilling theories. The police have insisted there are no signs of foul play. But that hasn't stopped the speculation. And for good reason. First, there's the lack of a clear cause of death. No poisoning, no carbon monoxide, no pre-existing health conditions that could explain such a sudden end. Then there's the unusual decomposition timeline. Why was Betsy's body in a worse state than Jean's? Was she moved post-mortem? And then there's the strangest part. One of the couple's dogs was also found dead. The other, completely unharmed. If this were a natural event, wouldn't both animals have suffered the same fate? And let's not forget, their home was fully secured. No signs of a break-in, no disturbances, no panic buttons pressed. It's almost as if whatever happened quietly. As news of Gene Hackman's death spread, the public expected Hollywood to react. After all, he was a 2-time Oscar winner, one of the most respected actors of his generation. But the response? Oddly muted. Of course, close friends and family expressed their grief, but the usual overwhelming flood of tributes? Not there. Almost as if people knew more than they were letting on. Meanwhile, in New Mexico, the local community held a memorial service, placing flowers and messages outside his home. People were heartbroken, but also confused. One neighbor stated, "Jean was still so full of life. I can't wrap my head around this." And that's the problem. No one can. What happens next? The Hackman family has urged people to stop speculating, to let investigators do their work. But at this point, can we really ignore the unanswered questions? Will there be a second autopsy to rule out more sinister possibilities? Will we ever get the full truth about what happened in that house? As it stands, the official cause of death remains undetermined, which means this case isn't closed. One of the biggest questions in this case is what Gene Hackman's final days actually looked like. If Betsy Arakawa died first, that means Gene spent days alone in the house. But what was he doing during that time? Investigators combed through phone records, emails, and security footage. The strangest part? There was almost no activity. Gene Hackman was known to be a creature of habit. Every morning, he had a routine. He'd check his emails, read the news, sometimes go for a bike ride. But after February 17th, all of that stopped. No phone calls, no texts, no signs of him leaving the house. It's as if he just vanished from the world before his body was even found. And then there's the food in the house. The kitchen showed no signs of recent meals being prepared. The fridge had untouched leftovers from earlier in the month. If Gene had been alive for days after Betsy, why wasn't he eating? Did he stop eating because he was in shock? Was he too grief-stricken to move? Or was he already suffering from some unknown illness that left him incapacitated? Even more unsettling, there were 2 unfinished woodworking projects in his workshop. Gene was meticulous about his craft, rarely leaving something half done. What made him suddenly stop? One key detail that no one is talking about is the couple's state-of-the-art security system. Gene and Betsy's home wasn't just any house. It was a secluded, multi-million-dollar property with high-tech surveillance. Cameras, motion detectors, and an alarm system that should have recorded everything. But when investigators checked the footage, nothing. The system had been turned off. Now there's only one way that could have happened. Someone inside the house did it. But why? Did Gene disable the system himself? Was it a mistake? Or was he afraid of something? Or someone? And if someone else turned it off, who was in the house with them? The fact that the system wasn't working during their final days makes it nearly impossible to confirm what actually happened inside. No recorded visitors, no disturbances, just a black hole of missing time. A curious connection to a previous Hollywood case? Believe it or not, Gene Hackman's mysterious death isn't the first Hollywood case like this. Just a few years ago, another retired actor, Charles Levin, was found dead in a bizarre and unexplained manner. His car was stranded in a remote area, his body partially eaten by animals, with no clear cause of death. At the time, many people questioned the strange circumstances, but it was ruled an accident. Could Hackman's case be another Hollywood mystery that authorities are eager to brush aside? Some theorists believe that high-profile deaths sometimes receive less scrutiny than they should, especially when they involve celebrities who have been out of the public eye for years. Are there powerful forces at play trying to silence the investigation? Since news broke of Gene Hackman's passing, the internet has been flooded with theories. Some more plausible than others, but all worth considering. A sudden, undiagnosed illness. Could Gene and Betsy have suffered from a rare or fast-acting illness that took both of them down within days of each other? Investigators ruled out poisoning, but what about a neurological condition or something undetectable in early tests? An unknown visitor. What if someone did enter the house but left no trace? With the security system off, an intruder could have come and gone unnoticed. But if this was a crime, why wasn't anything stolen? Gene's own choice. Some have suggested that Gene couldn't live without Betsy and simply gave up. While it's a heartbreaking thought, it doesn't explain the strange inconsistencies in the case. A hidden danger inside the house. Could there have been something in their home? A toxin? A hidden structural problem that led to their deaths? Investigators say they found nothing, but how sure can we be? The real question is, will we ever get the truth? Right now, the official cause of death remains undetermined. Authorities are keeping their investigation tightly sealed, with very little information being released to the public. But the fact remains, the timeline doesn't make sense. The security system, the lack of phone activity, the condition of their bodies, and the eerie silence from Hollywood all point to something bigger. Will we ever find out what really happened in Gene Hackman's final days? Or will this become yet another Hollywood mystery, one that's never solved? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on shocking celebrity cases like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because as more details emerge, you can bet this story isn't over yet.